birth of a legend. The journey behind creating one of the only left-handed Jimmy Page double-neck Gibsons in the world. When an eccentric business owner decided to revel in nostalgia, he decided to honor a piece of music history where price was not an obstacle. The challenge was to create a left-handed version of Jimmy Page's rare double-neck Gibson that he played in Stairway to Heaven on their 1971 tour, made famous in the cult classic, The Song Remains the Same.
Well, I knew that Gibson had made a double neck, and I sort of was aware of its presence, you know. But after having recorded the fourth album and had Stairway, which definitely was going to have to be played live, and the fact that it was, you know, it was recorded with, you know, 12 strings acoustic and electric. And the whole pacing of Stairway, I needed something which I'd be able to reflect the pacing of it, you know. It's still using the 12-string and the electric 12-string and electric 6-string neck. So that was it.
The exact guitar Jimmy used is a rare 1971 EDS 1275 Gibson double neck, which they produced from 1958 until sometime in the mid-80s. It featured 2 volume and 2-tone control knobs, a 3-way pickup selector switch, and a 3-way neck selector switch. It had chrome hardware, vintage tulip tuners, paraloid split parallelogram inlays, a black pickguard, 20 frets per neck, Nashville tom bridges, and stop plate tailpieces. The EDS 1971 model used the world's first humbucking pickups called the PAFs, accidentally named because of the silly sticker on the backside, which stood for Patent Applied For. The body was made of solid mahogany with necks of one-piece maple topped with a rosewood fingerboards. Jimmy's only custom work on it was a special little grounder between the jack and the 6-string tailpiece in order to reduce hum. Apparently, before that was done, it picked up so much hum from radio frequencies that they nicknamed it the Ariel, referring to an antenna. The beginning model double necks didn't actually start out as the one we know today. From 1958 to 1962, the EDS 1275 Gibson was built as a hollow body until it was changed until 1963 to the familiar body resembling the SG Gibson we know today. Interestingly, Rickenbacker is usually credited with developing the first electric 12-string guitar in 1963 with the Rickenbacker 36012, made famous by George Harrison in Hard Day's Night, where in fact the Gibson, which obviously has a 12-string neck, was put into production in 1958, 5 years prior. Speaking of Hard Day's Night, there's one fascinating note to the legend of 12 strings. The famous twang opening chord to A Hard Day's Night is not only one of the most famous chords in rock history, it's also famous because, for 40 years, no one quite knew exactly what chord Harrison was playing. There are theories aplenty, and the musicians, scholars, and amateur guitar players all gave it a try, with the closest guess claiming it to be a G7 suspended 4. But it ironically took a Dalhousie mathematician named Dr. Jason Brown to correctly figure out the exact formula. Using a mathematical calculation known as Fourier transform, he finally solved the 40-year riddle. There was a fifth Beatle, George Martin. Confirmed by George Harrison, their producer also played on the record with one single chord on the piano. George Harrison playing an F add 9 on the Rickenbacker 12-string, and George Martin playing a D2, G2, D3 on a Steinway piano. And so, with the first half of the dream destination complete, the left-handed part of the voyage begins. The first logical step on this journey was the foremost left-handed guitar shop, the world-famous South Paws of Houston, Texas. Run by Jimmy Duncan, it's a surprisingly unassuming shop considering its own notoriety. Here he sports over 900 left-handed guitars at any one time, all for anyone to pluck off the rack and take for a spin. Here, even the guru of lefties was stumped. Nowhere in the world, or in history as it turned out, was there a left-hand version of this unique guitar. It just didn't exist. The first call was then made directly to the Gibson factory itself in Nashville, Tennessee. Originally started in Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1880, this is where Orville Gibson's company finally ended up. After much browbeating with the executives, they stated they were just not making any left-handed double necks, at least in the notable SG style. Oddly enough, just recently Gibson reproduced 175 of these exact guitars in a little special edition series where number 11 was sold on eBay with a starting bid of $45,000. Of course, none were left-handed. It was then decided only a true, old-style master luthier would have to build this work of art. The age-old craft of painstakingly hand-carving stringed instruments is still kept alive and well today by but a few who covet the art of the original luthiers, graced by the likes of Antonio Torres Eduardo of Spain, who developed the classical guitar, and Christian Frederick Martin of Germany, who developed the steel string acoustic guitar. Luckily, Jimmy knew of a luthier not too far away in Texas. True to form, in the middle of the woods is where we found James Hewitt. A native Texan, he's mastered the precision and delicate art of recreating Baroque and Renaissance instruments like the orchestrums, symphonies, and lyres. His legendary acoustic dreadnoughts, archtops, and harp guitars have become an icon in the industry with their intricate and detailed hand-carved pearl inlays. With little persuasion, James decided to take on the task, and the instructions were clear. Price was not an object. Just like Gibson when they reproduced the guitar, a major decision had to be made. The original double neck guitar had a tailpiece that was set farther back on the body, which made it difficult to find strings long enough to reach the farthest tuning pegs on the 12-string headstock, which also was quite extended. So for playability's sake, the decision was made to wisely place the tailpiece at the more usual spot, as Gibson did during their own reproduction. Like a Michelangelo marble statue carving, one mistake cannot be made or the whole thing will have to be trashed and started over. And Jim was well aware of this. At last, after 3 months of solid carving, tweaking, sanding, and tuning, the mahogany masterpiece was finished. And being the classic luthier that he is, James went even further and inlaid the entire fretboard with custom pearl inlays and finished the guitar with Brazilian rosewood, fingerboards, veneers, and pick guards, creating a splendor that would make even Jimmy Page himself envious. Upon the unveiling, everybody instantly knew without even hearing a sound, this one-of-a-kind, never to be built again, will always be the centerpiece for whatever guitar collection it's going to reside in. And as for the sound, Jim got it right, and oh does it sing. Crafted with the same perfection of the much more delicate acoustic string instruments, every intonation is a song in itself, every note an assonance. Opposed to the twanginess of the 12-string Rickenbacker, only the Gibson 12-string delivers the rich, gentle harmony that cries without voice. Any tune played on it raises the bar, but none more than the songs it was inspired by playing. We end with the Rain Song, actually played on the guitar, albeit not exact, but still as wistful and melancholy as Jimmy Page's version almost 40 years ago.